Hello my friends, it is Monday. Welcome back. In the screen you can see a beautiful chart that goes from up to down, and this chart represents the Russian loading of petroleum products through rail. I'm gonna go through this summary because it's beautiful, because they have just fallen to the level of 2020. We're talking about COVID-19 pandemic, where the oil prices in the world were practically zero. In Russia, daily shipments of oil and petroleum products by rail have fallen to 2020 levels during the global crisis caused by the COVID-19 pandemic. In September 25, 503,300 tons were shipped per day, the same as in June 2020. And if you look at this chart, this is the loading chart of the rail of the Russian petroleum products. The red line here is 2025. It's beautiful. And it correlates with a lot of charts similar to this one. For example, the Russian government issued bonds. So how much the Russian government is borrowing from their own banks and population. This red chart of 2025 is quite the opposite, going through the roof, because they're borrowing 5 times more. It's up 500%. These red lines of 2025 almost in any Russian economy chart resemble the same pattern. Comparing September 25 with 23 to 24, the loading rate fell by more than 12%. The graph also shows that there was a drop in October due to refinery shutdowns for maintenance. Russia now faces a difficult choice: shut down the refineries or operate them until emergency shutdowns. Both are fine by me. Also, I'll bring you another chart, a lot of charts today. I'll try to make them easier to view for you. This is Benzene 95 and Benzene 92. These are two types of gasoline most sold in Russia, and you can see the price change since December 24 to October 25. Up and up she goes. It's a massive increase in price for a Russian population, majority of which lives below the poverty line in the European Union standards at least. So this hike in the gasoline prices in such a vast country as Russia, where you do rely on your personal car, be it a Lada Niva or a new Lada Vesta which steering wheel locks up, this will affect the personal life of tens of millions of Russians. Now I'll show you another chart. Well, not that much of a chart, but top 10 Russian refineries, the biggest ones, you know. I know you are itching for the oil refinery bingo card. We'll get to it. But first of all, I just want to give you some perspective of these refineries in Russia, how many years it took Russia to build them. But there's a caveat here. It wasn't Russia who built them. It was built in Russia by the Western companies. These oil refineries are filled with high-tech Western parts, which are made and only made in Western countries and China. China is not selling these parts to Russia, and the West, with the sanctions, definitely not. So it took 9 years to build the Yaroslavl oil refinery in the Belgorod Oblast, which was struck last month. I remember covering it. It took 8 years to build Kstovo, which was struck actually a few days ago. Ryazan, Kirishi was struck 3 days ago. It took 5 years to build that, and we're talking high-tech Western building companies who specialize on that. If you destroy them like Ukraine is doing now, there will be no repairing them to the standard that they were built to. They can't repair them to the old Soviet standard, but it will be a massive drop in efficiency. I just mentioned the Kirishi oil refinery, 800 kilometers from Ukraine. I mean, it's closer to where I am now in Estonia. It was struck 2 days ago. Let's go see for a moment Kirishi. 5 years of building time, extremely expensive work, 20.1 million tons per year of refined oil products, and boom, you can see it all go up in flames 2 days ago. Continue to this topic, people might think that China will repair all of these Russian oil refineries. Well, they don't. They could, because China has the capability to build refineries very close to the standards of the European Union, but they don't sell that stuff to Russia. China has stopped selling high-precision machine tools to Russia. Without special license, it is now impossible to obtain even equipment with an accuracy of 3 to 4 micrometers. This was reported by Tatpromstan owner Lidar Nuriev. who added that even exporting previously paid-for machines from China is fraught with unpleasant incidents. China has made it clear, strategic partnership is one thing, but high technology is now prohibited. China's move is pragmatic, not highly ideological. It is protecting its own interest while isolating Russia. Why does China want to isolate Russia and make sure Russia loses money in every way possible? Well, because it will be the Chinese companies and the Communist Party who is one by one buying up the companies in Russia who are going bankrupt. 80% of new cars sold in Russia are Chinese made. Same goes to a lot of tech that has gone bankrupt after the war started, full-scale invasion. China is very slowly taking over Russia by buying in the bankrupted companies. This is why China has an interest of making Russia as poor as possible so they can get it up cheap. Now I'll show you an updated animation of Russian gasoline or benzene shortage map. In Estonia we call it benzene, which is gasoline. In America and I think in England you call it gas, but gas in Estonia would mean natural gas, so let's just call it benzene. This is the shortage map. We're talking August, week 1. We're going up to September, and then we're going up to October also. You can see now the majority of Russian oblasts in the west and in the east and central, everywhere, have these shortages. Fast forward 1 or 2 months, it will be cold. I've talked about it so much, but the colder it gets, the redder this map will get. Alright, let's go to specific hits. I should have talked about this sooner, but I wanted to get these charts and maps out of the way. Orsknefteorgsintez. I'm always struggling with these oil refinery names in Russia because they have the longest and craziest names. Let me try to say that again. Orsknefteorgsintez. Well, it was in Orsk. It is in Orsk, that's why the name. It was struck, and you can see it on the map. It's on the border of Kazakhstan. And here is a beautiful video for you. Woo! Nice barbecue. Yeah, good. The main thing about this, it's on the border of Kazakhstan, right? Southern Russia, 1,400 kilometers from Ukraine. And now Russian propagandist Mardan writes this. Orsk Oil Refinery was attacked by drones. The distance from Ukrainian border is 1,400 kilometers. It is completely obvious that the drones were launched from the territory of Kazakhstan. Hence the question, isn't it time to carry out a raid on the territory of independent Kazakhstan in order to eliminate the threats of Russia's national security? It would be best to clear out Astana right away. Shots fired towards Kazakhstan. They're supposed to be one of Russia's closest allies right now. Shots fired. They cannot believe in Russia that Ukraine has the capability to make drones themselves that can fly so far and so deep into Russia. Newsflash. Surprise. Or in Russia they say, surprise. They can. These are Ukrainian drones. They came from Ukraine, not Kazakhstan. And just in this refinery, here is a map. You cannot destroy every last building in this refinery area. You have to destroy the distillation and refining towers, the cracking towers, distillation units. If you hit them with 1 or 2 drones, the rest of this area doesn't really matter. We have another hit, and this happened yesterday actually. Kstovo Oil Refinery, also known as Luch. Okay, get ready for this. Nizhegorod Nefteorgsintez. Nizhegorod Nefteorgsintez. Right, thank you for the crazy names, Russia. Well, it was hit. It's 800 kilometers from the front line, and it was the first time it has been hit. So there are still refineries in Russia Ukraine has not hit yet. And here, my friends, is the oil refinery bingo card. You've been waiting for it. This is a medium-sized refinery in Russia. You can see it right here. This is the location. This is straight through the mainland of Russia. It's supposed to be defended by air defense, but it's not. They just fly slow flying drones through it. How do I know this? Because Ukraine uses these Luch drones made by Firepoint, the Ukrainian drone manufacturer. We all know the Luch drones. They are loud, they are slow, they're flying quite low. Everybody can see them, everybody can film them. If you cannot take them down, you really have an issue. I have two more topics for you in this Russian economy segment. Then we'll go to international news and then to the front line. But one of the topics is about the Russian car manufacturer Avtovaz, the biggest one in Russia. Well, you could almost say the only one in Russia. Avtovaz has given their employees a new contract, and the employees are forced to sign it or quit the job. Workers at Russia's largest car manufacturer Avtovaz are resigning en masse, with the company now forcing staff to agree to much lower pay and hours as sales have dropped. I quote, "We used to earn 100 to 120,000 rubles. Now the maximum is 45 to 50. So your wage is slashed by 50%, even 55% almost. You're working in a car manufacturing factory and suddenly your wage is slashed by 50%. How much this will affect your life? It is crazy." Well, of course, nobody wants to buy the Lada Vesta, which is made in 2025 in Russia, brand new car, all made in Russia. The steering wheel locks up while you drive on the highway, 100 kilometers per hour, and you cannot turn. How crazy is that? Well, of course, the sales have dropped after this news. Final story of the Russian economy today are Russian government cutting the maintenance money to the Russian public transportation. We're talking buses, trolley buses, trains. Look at that. This would be a very generic Russian trolley. No, this is a tram on the tracks. We have trams in Estonia also. I mean, many countries have them. But this is, I think, from the 80s. Now, if it works, no problem with it. But they don't work. They're stopping working because they have been on the tracks for 50 years. These are the little things that show that Putin's Russia is sinking deeper and deeper into chaos. The Russian authorities will cut spending on buses, trams and trolley buses by 3 times in favor of military spending. While 42.6 billion rubles will be allocated for the purposes this year, the figure will fall to just 13.8 billion in 2026, according to the draft federal budget. At the same time, about 40% of the country's public transportation has already exceeded its standard service life. That's 57,000 buses and 9,000 trams and trolley buses. Especially these trams, I mean, these are workhorses. They go over half a century, I kid you not. This looks like from the 80s. If you even maintain it for a little bit, it would go another 100 years. The thing with these trolley buses, they're so stupid robust. They can go forever. But Russia doesn't maintain anything. They don't. Buses, trolley buses, trains, if you even a little bit maintain them, they go well over their service lives. We see it in Ukraine. I mean, Ukraine has these same ones. And they work. But in Russia, the money is cut for the military, and these things will grind to a halt literally on the tracks. Before we go to the international news, my friends, I want to read you one of the comments from the previous video, because you have given me feedback. Many people commented about this, and I gotta read it and I gotta take it into account. Stanzeawa says, "I have been watching your show from the beginning of the war, and I'm always looking forward to the next episode. As much as I enjoy your new look, that is the typing sound, track totally killed me today. First one was annoying, second one pissed me off, but when the third one happened, I said WTF. Have you changed your head? Please keep up the great work and drop that crazy soundtrack. Polak with Seattle for Ukraine." Polish person from Seattle for Ukraine. Yeah, I got you, bro. Don't worry. No more typing sound. Plenty of people commented about this. We have heard you. But now, my friends, I'll read you 3 new members of Buy Me a Coffee. Welcome to the family. Jochen Osborne. Are you the long-lost brother of Ozzy Osbourne? Welcome, Jochen. Mats Ekelund. Welcome. Steve Bartholomev. Bartholomew, that's her new name. Thank you for joining up. If you like my channel, buy me a coffee, link is in the description below. Now we have the international segment, and I'll begin with good news because Norwegian F-35s today, as we speak, as I'm making this video, are landing in Poland because they are deployed there as part of Eastern Sentry, the NATO's Eastern aerial security mission launched after the drones flew over Poland. And these Norwegian F-35 Lightning II jets will be there with the Dutch and Polish Air Force all together. So 3 countries' air forces in Poland together maintaining the security of Northern and Eastern European airspace. So glad to see that. We'll go from Poland to France because the French army, the Coast Guard, actually boarded one of Russia's Shadow Fleet tankers. French soldiers with choppers and boats boarded the tanker, arrested 2 of the captains, both of them were charged in the French court. I was so glad to see that, but then they released those captains and they released the vessel, and now the vessel is heading to Suez Canal already. Why did they board the tanker in the first place? Well, it was not responding to the Coast Guard. It had its transponder switched off. It didn't have a proper insurance papers, and it couldn't justify the flag it was flying. The tanker's name is Boracay. It left Russia last month and it was cut off the coast of Denmark. It was connected to the Denmark unidentified drones incident, this Shadow Fleet tanker. So they suspect the drones were launched from this tanker. So the French Coast Guard boarded it, took the captains, tried them in the French court and then let them all go. So I'm like, what the hell are you doing? You take the tanker, you arrest the captains, and you never release the tanker. That's how you're supposed to do that. That's what Finland did. They just took the tanker. I'm pissed at the French. Why are you releasing this tanker? It makes money for the Russian war machine. Now we travel from France to Chechnya because Kadyrov, you know, the old mummy, still alive by the way, has awarded himself again Hero of Chechnya. First time he gave himself that order in 2023. Now in 2025, for the second time, he gives this order to himself. So it's like 2 times. I'm the best hero of Chechnya. 2 times in a row. Check me out, brothers and sisters. He's a drug addict. We all know that. He has kidney failure. And this is the hero of Chechnya. Герой Чеченской Республики. Now we travel from Chechnya to Estonia. I mean, this segment is truly international. Estonia, my country, because only a few tens of kilometers from the Estonian border in the Leningrad region, the transfer of Russian heavy artillery to the border was observed. Before I go on with the information, I just want to watch the video with you. Look at that. So this is filmed about, 30-40 kilometers from the Estonian border. We have the Msta self-propelled howitzers here, and Hyacinth, sorry, let me get the name, Hyacinth S self-propelled howitzers traveling to the Estonian border. So now it's the Petersburg-Pskov junction where these self-propelled guns are moving through, and this post says that there are 3 scenarios. Scenario 1, escalation tests. Scenario 2, support for the Ukrainian front. And scenario 3, direct invasion to Estonia. I'm going to say and claim it right now, these are going to Ukraine. They're not going to Estonia or Latvia. They're moving close to the border maybe to provoke NATO and us. But everything Russia has right now moves to Ukraine. They don't have any excess of anything. They have shortages and deficits. There's no way they can start a new war when there are 5 fronts open in Ukraine and they can only advance in one. The main goal for them would be to advance in all of them and take over Ukraine. They cannot do that. So all of this we see here right now is going to be food for the Ukrainian drones. Alright, my friends. Frontline segment. Are you ready? Because I'm going to bring you an in-depth analysis of the Dobropilia axis. Russia has renewed their push a little bit east from the Dobropilia encirclements. You can see it's about 5 to 10 clicks eastwards, and they're pushing north, trying to reach the Donbass line once again, like the Dobropilia bunny ears did. So I have in every of my videos almost talked about these encirclements and said that Ukrainians do not have troops in between of these encirclements, but they control the area with drones. Well, here everything is geolocated, and I just have a second opinion for you on that. Some will map an area as Russian because Ukrainian drones strike Russian soldiers there, or a Russian was seen with a flag. Some will map it as a gray zone. I would myself map the gray zone for one main reason. Here's a very useful graphic. You can easily have a red and blue porous line where stronger positions of both sides and multiple houses occupied by different armies in the same village. This is one village, and here is a clear Ukrainian presence, and the right side, east side, is clear Russian presence. Now this is the gray zone in between. It is gray because it's contested, but it means that it can be very mixed up like that. So people look at these maps, they look at these colors, and they simplify it. Okay, here is where the Russian line ends, here's the gray zone, here's the Ukrainian line. It is mixed up. The gray zone has both positions in it, and both drones and glide bombs and artillery are firing into it day and night. It's very liquid, these gray zones. And we get to the Dobropilia encirclements now. These gray zones in between of these encirclements, both units, both Russians and Ukrainians, sometimes have their troops in the area and then they pull back again. The main area of misunderstanding is near the former Dobropilia breakthrough that was stopped and pushed back behind the defensive line. This is how I see the situation. Russians are isolated in pockets but do not cut off directly. Ukrainians sometimes push between those pockets, but they do pull back because being there permanently is just to die in the end, because Russians do drop a lot of glide bombs. They do field drones over these areas. The easiest way to control these pockets is with drones. Why don't the Russians pull back from these encirclements? Because first, they need to cross a ditch, barbed wire and dragon's teeth that have not been breached. Then they need to walk into the open. So far, they hold in their positions, wait for the drone drop munitions and food and future offensive to liberate their isolation. You can see this yellow line here is the first Donbass line. Donbass line consists of many lines. This is the 0.5 line, not the first one, but the halfway or 0.5 line that the Dobropilia breakthrough crossed, the very first position where Russians ever crossed the Donbass line. Now the breakthroughs are separated by this Donbass line, so if they want to link up, they gotta cross it again and again over different areas under Ukrainian drone and artillery fire. So they really cannot break out, and the main army cannot break in, as you say. I want to watch a video with you now. It happens September 29th, but we didn't have all the information. We didn't have all the footage. I wanted to wait a little bit until all is clear, but now it is, and let's just enjoy it because this is pure gold, and we saw this much more in 2022. But here is one, September 29th, 2025. Ukrainian FPV flying, spotting something up in the air. What is it? Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's a Russian Mi-8 helicopter filled with 8 meat bags. Congratulations, you have been turned into manure for the Ukrainian sunflowers. Here is a video filmed from the ground of the aftermath of this hit. What a beautiful falling star. Make a wish, my friends. Can you hear it? Ёбаный урод, блядь. I will not translate it for you. Anyway, we have information now that all of the 8 meat bags are really turned into manure. They will no longer commit any war crimes. Mi-8 taken out of the Ukrainian FPV drone. Truly a beautiful sight. Now let's go to Belgorod, because Ukrainians today night, when you and me were sleeping, struck Belgorod Luch electronical substation. Luch, I don't know how to say it. They struck it, so the city, all in lights, is no longer that lit anymore. I'll just try to find you the video of when exactly it went dark, because we have that exact moment. Here you can see the hits. Plenty of them happening. The whole sky goes lights. Here is already dark, only some street lights are burning because there are some backup generators for the street lights and bus lights. But most of the city is dark. I just want to show you the moment it goes dark. Yeah, do you see that? Look at that. Just everything pitch black like that. What a wonderful sight. Here is Belgorod and here is the Luch Belgorodski Zavod. Now again, I'm not sure if this is the electrical substation, but if you zoom in a little bit, you can see a lot of chimneys, you can see these pipes, you can see a lot of dust settled on this area. I'm guessing this is the coal power plant, which produces electricity for the majority of the city. And it only makes sense. If you take this out, the city goes black. Now I have a video for you of Russians destroying a Ukrainian bridge. Now this bridge was already destroyed. As you can see, it was close to the civilians. But for some reason, Russians decided to strike it again. And what surprises me is the location of that bridge. Because when Russians would be sure they take this area, they would not destroy this bridge. But this bridge is very close to the front, in an area that Russians definitely want to take. And they destroyed it with a glide bomb. Bridge destroyed. It's over the Siversky Donetsk River near the Ukrainian Rehi town. It's basically north from Kramatorsk. Kramatorsk being one of the main objectives in this area, definitely an area Russians want to take. Perhaps they're understanding that they will never reach there, and then it's okay to destroy this bridge because then it really disrupts the Ukrainians. And since Russians will never reach it, it will not be a headache for them in the future. So they destroyed it. We can just get some information out of which bridges they decide to destroy. And since this one is very close to the front lines, it spells the information to us that they have kind of lost hope of getting into this area. This video of Russians riding horses surfaced. I don't know what to think. Two guys on one horse. As a drone up in the air. This is not from the 40s, 50s. This is now. This just happened. War Gonzo posted this. I cannot for the life of me find any kind of useful use for this because they have electric scooters. They do the same job. If you need to go over these grasslands, you would do it better with an electric scooter that does not get afraid when it explodes around it. Horses are nowadays, they're expensive to breed. Back in the day when the Cossacks were running Ukraine, I mean, everybody had many, many horses. Horses were cheaper. Nowadays, the horses are more expensive than they used to be 1,000 years ago, by the way. This doesn't make any sense to me. Use Chinese electric scooters. But not horse. I just feel bad for the horses because you know the horse will die 100%. It's a butterfly mine. It will break its leg because the surface is very uneven. It will get a bullet or shrapnel. Why drag the horses into this? I don't know. Somewhere on the front, we got this Ukrainian troop filming with a GoPro. Looks like he's playing something in his Steam Deck. This device here is called a Steam Deck. You can play many games on it, but this is not a game. This is connected to a machine gun 2 meters away from him, just right here. Remote controlled machine gun controlled by a gamer Steam Deck controller. So strange. Because these Ukrainian guys, let's say he's 27, right? He grew up with playing Nintendo and in the later years Steam Deck in the civilian life. Now he's on the front controlling a Steam Deck with a machine gun. Such a strange world. And now for the final story of the Frontlines segment, I will bring to you the Russian artillery expenditure of 2025. Well, not all, but May to October artillery expenditure. What is crazy with this is that the artillery expenditure rate 1,488,990. That is the artillery shell expenditure from May to October this year. That comes down to 5,356 shells per day. Oh, it might be a lot, you think. It is a lot compared to what Ukraine uses, but Russians fired in some days 60,000 shells per day in 2023. then 10,000 shells per day in 2024, and now they're firing 5,000 shells per day. They have an acute artillery shell shortage, as do Ukrainians, by the way. Ukrainians are firing way less than 5,000, but this just shows that Russians, in connection with Iran and North Korea, still face an acute artillery shell shortage. In 2023, the Russians would have reduced artillery expenditure to less than 5,500 artillery shells a day in order to not have any deficits compared to their production. And now they're shooting this amount, and they used to shoot 60,000 per day. So they just used up everything. And now all they get is from North Korea and Iran and what they make, but it's nearly not enough. Same goes for Ukraine, by the way. This is it for today, my friends. I'll bring you Russian economy, international news, and Frontlines on Wednesday again. Put your comments below about the new style of the video. If you don't like anything, I'll see if enough people comment about it, and then I'll change it. Thank you for your feedback. Until then, subscribe to the channel. Slava Ukraini, and bye-bye.